They'll probably say, where exactly are you going with this? I see you really trying to take it there. Old school flow, chew you out, ain't fair. Jordan pants.
Yo, what up? It's your boy Zod. Anyways, man, I'm gonna go ahead and take these earphones off because even though I want to monitor the audio, I want to kind of keep it. I feel like that headphone just throw me off. It's not really my get down, but I'm guessing when I'm messing with the audio, I gotta pay attention. But I'm gonna go ahead and take them off and get into what I want to talk about. For the people that are new to the channel and following the channel, hit the sub and subscribe button, hit the bell notification for all future videos. And this video is nothing in particular. It's just one of the things I want to talk about as far as like the mistakes that was made on YouTube when I first got on here. See, when I first got on here, a lot of people knew my story for talking about when I was incarcerated and the things that I've been through without having to delve too deep into it, because I mean we're restricted from getting too descriptive about all the ins and outs of prison. So I had to refrain from doing that, and just the mistakes that I made just in general, and mistakes that you should avoid when you're on YouTube, especially if you're like the genre that I'm considered a part of slightly is the whole prison genre, even though I refrain from pursuing that route. Like I didn't want to keep talking about this guy and that guy, and I didn't want to get into this and who I was beefing with. But some mistakes were made in the beginning. A lot of it was due to the fact of ego and and feeling as if I had to let cats know exactly who I am. See, it's one of those things when you are a Southerner and you are black, you're always going to be up against it, because like I said in a video in the past, you're always going to have people that don't feel that you should represent. You got people that don't want you to represent, and you got people that want to see you fail just off the back. Some people are intimidated by your gangster, so they feel as if you're more gangster than them. You're causing the issue. You got these dudes on the yard that are just dummies, and they'll take an ass whooping just to get you removed from the situation, as far as like egg you on, knowing that they can't beat you, but eventually you'll act on it, put hands on them, then you get removed from the yard, because that's just stupidity. Now, don't get me wrong, these type of guys usually don't last that long, but they have them on every yard, and this is not what I want to talk about. I'm just telling you this is a mistake that I made in the past, and what might have cost me a lot of potential subscribers. See, a lot of people right now are upset at the fact that I will not continue to go down the rabbit hole as far as like negativity wise, and that I flipped the script. Now, understand this, flipping the script doesn't mean that I'm not still about what I said I'm about. It's just that at some point you got to let that go, because if you continue to go down that route, only a few things happen. Either you're forced to let people know, and then you end up doing something that's so detrimental to you and those who back you, that you end up back in the cage from which you came. And that's just going backwards. That's not even, you're going backwards. The whole thing is to get on, progress, and go to the next level as far as like get a job, establishing this. If you got a family, take care of your family and put your all into that. But in the beginning, when after I told my story, I started clashing with trolls, and trolls were speaking, and I went on the whole anti-2-5, and it's still, like I don't have to voice it, but it's just one of those things that goes without saying. But it was just one of those, I felt like people were trying to test my manhood, and I had to constantly let them know that it is what it is, and that I'm exactly who I say I was. And that only caused even more issues. You have cats that made supposedly exposed videos, but the whole thing, why should have never even entertained. And to be honest, I'll take that back, because these cats that were making these so-called exposed videos, I never even entertained them, partially due to the fact that I didn't entertain them. Only one cat in particular that I was not too fond of, and since this little situation that took place, he's no longer a part of the world, so I no longer have those particular issues. And even then, it was just one of those things I should have refrained from even acknowledging the cat. But as a man and as a human being, you tend to make these type of mistakes, and these are the mistakes that I want to tell people that are maybe in the prison genre, on the gossiping channels, to be just a little bit more careful in what you do, because these videos that you put out, they'll get that immediate buzz, but after a while, if you don't continue to put out that same type of energy on gossip and looking for beef, your channel is going to start failing. People can only hear so much. It's like when they get tired of hearing what you got to say and that it's not really intriguing anymore, they tend to move on. And that's happened on my channel. I had cats that supposedly they roll with me tight, but little by little they fell off. And half of it was due to the fact that instead of just elevating, I constantly was going back down the rabbit hole. Instead of pushing cats to the side and pushing more on the positive page and talking about things that actually made sense. Like when I talked about politics, yeah, I got negative feedback, but also got a lot of positive because people were not only intrigued by the fact that I knew about politics somewhat, but that I was actually somebody that was willing to put it out there in front of everybody. Even with the whole voting thing, some people didn't like what I voted and who I voted for, and other people felt empowered that somebody like me would get on and put his business out there, knowing that it would be ridiculed just due to the fact of dude wasn't that popular as far as like amongst like, you know, the same that I tend to represent. Well, some of them. So people were emboldened by that fact, and they start speaking out and saying who they represent and who they were voting for as a president, and it just you know what I mean. It's like it was one of those things that people expected me to continue going that way, but instead I regressed and I went back to the disrespect and talking about fools and calling fools out and allowing fools to round me to the point to where I was like really trying to get at these cats, and it just made me look stupid all the way around. It's like at some point, it's like, you know, people might like the negativity and might feed into the whole who's going at it with now, but in the back of their brain, they're looking at me and be like, damn, this fool's already old and he's still acting stupid, and like, look, it's okay, like, you know what I mean? But why are you allowing these dudes to rattle you? And I used to brush them to the side because I wanted to do what Zah wanted to do, and it cost me. A lot of these cats that were like strong supporters fell off because they were looking for me to take it to the next level. They were looking for me to push in a way that was more positive and less negative. Yeah, they understood that it was going to be people on the internet that were going to make me mad and I was going to react to it, but they felt as if I should have reacted to it a lot less than I did. Now, the whole reason I made the video was just to put that out there that, you know, as a man, I acknowledge my mistakes. And hopefully I don't make them anymore. But I mean, it's yet to be determined. Humans are humans. Sometimes we get riled up. Now, as far as like these exposed videos and people, I finally looked at YouTube and just seen like all these videos that people were trying to criticize me. Some didn't even know what the hell they were talking about. They were like in other states, assuming they know the politics of California, but they didn't. And I tried to explain it like there's no way certain things could happen because it just, they ain't gonna allow that to happen. I don't know about other cars, but the car that I represented and represent, they don't look too fondly on that. So what I was saying is no way things of that nature could have took place doing all that time and going through all those cages and never once that being addressed. But I digress. It's not about that. But what I'm seeing is a lot of other channels that are starting to go down the same path. Now you have these other channels that, you know, I won't even say where their standing is at, but they're just not in good standings, whatever circle they represent. But I see channels as far as like Southerners and people that associate with Southerners that are starting to go down the same rabbit holes. Their channel started off as more giving their opinion and reaction. Now it just went to full-blown gossip, and I get it. You know, at some point, the videos that you make, like reactions and all that, they start to not get as much traction because everybody's doing it. So people tend to want to, you know, I've seen cats go as far as to sneak this, or they'll make a video about you and then they make it seem like they're cool with you and that this can't be, but they're still entertaining the fact that things might have actually went that route. Or you know, there's cats that they get on and they say, oh, I'm not being disrespectful to this guy, but it's being disrespectful just assuming. If your opinion about somebody is, you know, I'm guessing this guy is not like that, but you never know. Everybody, blah blah blah, and just goes into all that, and then say, oh well, it's not gossip. Every YouTube channel on YouTube, and if it's not a DIY or it's not something that can help you as far as like, the technical side of cameras, audio, paintings, whatever, is gossip. Any channel that gets on here and it talks about another man, even if it's not in a negative context, it's still gossip, and people need to come to terms with that. So early on, I moved away from the whole prison genre. Like, I stated my piece, I got busted, what I represented, how long I did, and the do's and don'ts, and then I left it at that. And then from that point, I ended up getting into with other cats, and then that just took me down another rabbit hole, and it went from telling my story to just all out madness. And in the end, everything that was said about me was, yeah, it was just one of those things. Like, the proof was not in the pudding. So, and that's why I'm still here doing YouTube. But yeah, for the people that's doing YouTube, just refrain from it. Like, if you can state your story, what I mean, or if you're covering somebody, just to be non-biased, unless you're dealing with somebody that's not in good standings. And even then, I wouldn't even mention them because they're not even worthy of the attention. But refrain from gossiping. If you have an opinion on something, leave it as an opinion. Don't fall to one side more than the other, because you end up getting caught in the mix. Like, I'm seeing YouTube channels right now that were coming up, but now they're starting to have controversy with other homies, and the thing that I've learned is, if you're no longer participating in the action as far as the street, everybody's always going to be active in a sense, especially if you remain solid, came out solid, and you're not dealing with certain cats, you're always going to be active. Now, if you're on the street being active, that's a whole different thing. The streets and prison is a whole different monster. You know what I mean? Active and pen is togetherness. On the street is division everywhere. So, if you're not on the street smacking on fools, it's like, then you're winning. You cannot win in prison no more. Like, it's not the place to be. It's not something to aspire to. I tell the youngsters all the time, yeah, I did mine, and I represent what I represent. And, I mean, you got to call a spade a spade. I can't turn overnight and be like, oh, I've never been a thug, or I've never did this. I've did some grimy stuff, but that's what happens when you participate in activities. But it's good that I refrain from going that same route at the time that I did. Now it's like there's a lot of different things I'm doing, so I no longer participate in that format or participate in that circus that people like to, put themselves in because they need the views. I'll go negative views if that's the case. It's better than wake up and always dealing with drama, or who said this, or people sending you videos of this fool talking about you. I don't even care, to be honest. I'm one of those dudes, like, I should have just kept it how I've always seen it. If you're not in my face actually pushing that line, it's no need to even address it. It's just one of those things. All my rallies were like, man, brush that to the side. Like, we already know what time it is. The key ways that I deal with, solid homies that I deal with, like, brush it aside. Your platform can be a lot bigger if you only shift from the way you're going. And now, hopefully I caught it in time to be able to pull myself back from the deep end. As I was already drowning, because I refused to, go back on a page that was more conducive to a person living a good life. But yeah, that's all I'm gonna say. This video already went too long, but just, if you got YouTube, man, don't get involved in it. Don't get involved in the drama. Don't get involved in gossip. If, like I said, if you have an opinion, keep it opinion, but don't necessarily lean to one side or the other. Just stay in the middle. Don't address any channels that are not in good standings. Don't go at other races. Don't, like, you can get your content out without having to be negative about absolutely everything. You know what I mean? Understand some things are going to make you frustrated. If you talk politics, but not prison politics, but if you talk politics, but don't get to the point to where if something's not said in the way you want it to be said, you get upset. Don't be the aggressive there, bro, the aggressive conservative. Just be the guy that, like, oh, we don't agree, fine. You know, you make strong points, I make strong points, and leave it at that. Especially if you're considered to be homies. You know what I mean? But on that note, I'm your boy Zod. Hopefully you guys enjoy the rest of your night, and I'll be bringing you another video. Hopefully I'll have something else interview lined up. And on that note, I'm your boy Zod, and I'm out.
Kneel before Zod!